All right. Well, I'm Michael Oates. I'm 64 years old, and I started fishing years ago. Uh, it actually all started when me and my brother went to the high school talent show. We went to the high school talent show, and we had this bottle of vodka. And we got drunk. My brother was puking on the principal's desk. Parents came down, and my mom and dad said, "You boys are going to work. Got too much time on your hands." And my mom at that time had just started as a captain on a charter boat, and so they were familiar with all the boats down in Haulover. And they sent us to work on. They sent my brother on a Captain Rudy. They sent me on a boat called the Captain Joseph that came down from New York. And one of my first days at work, I walked down there at 14 years old, and the mate on the boat handed me a bag of pot and a pack of rolling papers and said, "Can you roll us some joints? We need them for fishing." And that was my punishment for getting drunk. I got a couple years older. I fished at night on the headboats in Haulover while I was going to high school. And to continue on that story, we would we weren't even old enough to drive yet, and Jimmy Bell used to drive us home at night.
Jimmy Bell. Tell me, Jimmy Bell, who was he?
He was a boat captain that came down from Little River, South Carolina.
Right.
Well, my dad was from Little River,
Right. Okay.
and so they all knew each other and everything.
Yeah, Jimmy's a pretty famous guy himself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you know Wayne Tom, or was he already?
I know Wayne. Yeah, I fished with Wayne on the boat quite a few times.
Mhm.
I mostly fished on the Hurricane Cap. Skip Rudy was running
Right,
Hurricane
right.
when that was going on.
Mhm.
And off and on, we fished with Wayne. We fished with Bouncer, and
Right.
it was all a good.
Yeah, Wayne ended up being my partner
Oh,
in the reward business, but my
yeah.
party boat. But
I got a little bit older, and when I got to be old enough I started going to college, and I went to school for mechanical engineering.
oh,
And while I was going to mechanical engineering, I picked up a job on a private boat up at Coral Ridge Yacht Club. It was a 46 Bertram for an old man that owned a bakery in Indiana. And we would go to Bimini every single weekend. We would go on Friday afternoon and come back on Sunday night. And we would deep drop for yellow eyes, and we'd catch groupers and all that
boy,
stuff.
they were a lot then too, weren't
Oh,
they? And they were big too, weren't
yeah,
they?
oh, we did good. Every Monday he would have a fish fry over at the yacht club for the whole yacht club.
Wow.
And I did that, but that's how I got started with big corporate people with the money and the jets and all that stuff. And
Has it been fun?
oh yeah, so I needed a job, and I got a job for another guy in Montauk, and moved up there and lived in Montauk full time for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we did a lot of tuna fishing up there, and
I
offshore
bet you
catfish.
saw some giant blue fins and yellow fins, and wow, it must have been amazing.
It was it was very good fishing back then.
Oh,
The numbers of fish we used to catch back then was nothing compared to. We took them down south in the Bahamas in the winter, and we were in Montauk in the summer, and we were doing that for quite a few years. And um, with him, that lasted about 5.5 years. He was a very loud and obnoxious kind of person.
Okay, that's
I got fired 5 times, and every time I got fired, I got about a
tired you back.
every time I got fired, I got about a $10,000 a year raise within the next.
You work with all these guys. Why are you here at a Living Legend reunion
Well, because
up here in
that is my days from growing up. I grew up we were good buddies with. Also, along the time living in Montauk, Skip Rudy was up in Montauk.
Oh, he was. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, we talked to Skip on the Apple phone where we could see him. He wasn't able to be here this time.
Yeah, Skip was up in Montauk, and I had worked with Jimmy in Miami, and because I haven't even got up to the time where I went back to Miami.
Well, why don't we go back there?
Well, a friend of mine that worked for Buddy Davis, he said, "Hey, I got this Buddy Davis in Miami, and I know you're from Miami. Do you want to go down there and work in Miami? And I took a job on a boat in Miami, and a couple of Cuban guys that were partners, I ended up working them for 20 years.
Wow.
And they were down there in
Who?
Cocoa Plum and Coral Gables.
Right, because I ran the Coca Plum tournament for all the years that I was on the radio and MC.
Used to Cocoa Plum tournament a lot. I did, I don't know, 4 or 5 years in a row. We did the Triple Crown and the Keys.
Yeah, okay.
And, we did a couple of years, we did rather well. We never won any of those tournaments, but I came in second and third in quite a few of them. I hopped on a boat called the Big Y, and I took that down with Desi down to Venezuela.
What a famous boat, the Big Y, and in Venezuela, famous and everywhere.
Incredible fishing.
Oh my God, I was there while they were there.
Yeah.
Okay, so unbelievable.
I was on there for not a long time on the Big Y, probably about 4 months in Venezuela.
Whew.
Well,
4 months in Venezuela, like years anywhere else. Okay, that many fish, right?
yeah, yeah. And the year I was there, it was the same year you were there. I know all the fly guys were really upset because we were catching the crap out of big blue marlin.
Right.
And the fly guys ain't gonna catch no 500-pound blue marlin.
Right.
They were down there to catch white marlin, and there weren't a lot of white marlin there.
Right.
And which was odd. It wasn't like it was supposed to be.
Yeah, you out at La Guaira Bank,
Yeah.
and fishing around the bank, and man, blues there.
Yeah, and that all ended in 1999 when they had the Great Flood.
Yes, and the Great Flood wiped out all of our friends there.
Mm-hmm.
The captains, the mates, their crews, the washdown guys, everyone who took care of us, who made a lot of money in Venezuela from us,
right,
wiped them out.
Yes.
And I don't think it ever came back to where it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was horrible. We had this 74 Scarborough. I was on that. I was the only one that ever drove that boat for 17 years when they built it.
Wow.
And we did a lot of just Bahamas, and we did a bunch of charters.
Okay.
And so I worked on that Maverick for another 10 years, and we took the boat up to Destin, and I moved to Destin.
That's where you are now?
That's where I am now.
Right.
And I'm up in Destin.
Great fishing in Destin.
Oh, yeah, totally different. It was a whole brand new learning how to fish.
Yeah.
Because everything we do up in Destin, we don't do anything like we did in Miami. It's
Did you ever use any of what you learned in South Florida up there?
we have, fishing's fishing.
Yeah, wow.
And everywhere you
Sure.
fish, you
Sure.
take what you did there, and you go to a new place and you take something from the new people you go to. And
So now,
Mhm.
at your age,
Yeah.
Mike,
Yep.
you're still young. All right. What do you think, and where do you think we're going with fisheries management?
Oh, it's getting tough, and the regulations are really, really strict. We're not hardly allowed to catch anything when we go fishing. We do a lot of snapper and grouper fishing, and the seasons are short. The bag limits are really small. You got to be really creative to make a day of fishing. If you want to go and fish all day, you got to be really creative to be able to go for the species that are available that you're allowed to catch. And it's really tough. But, like, we get to go fishing for snappers, and they actually extended it a little bit, but 1 month a year, basically. And then we got to fish for something else. And my view on some of these regulations and what they're doing with the seasons, they open up red snapper, and then they close everything else. Then they open up to triggerfish, and you're only allowed to target triggerfish. And then, for another couple of weeks, you're allowed to catch amberjacks, and you're not allowed to catch anything else. And it's, hey, why don't they let us go out and catch one snapper and one grouper and one triggerfish and one amberjack and then we can go out and fish all day in different spots and have a good trip instead of having all these, you just go for snapper today. And I think that's really would be a viable solution to that.
Where do you see us going?
Uh,
You know, as I,
Yeah,
as I
I'm saying, I'm winding down, and on the boat I work on, we hire two mates, and I got one guy that's more experienced, and then we're hiring a young guy. And it's really, really tough to find a young guy with any kind of work ethic.
when are you gonna retire?
I'm waiting on for my employer now to just call it quits, and when he's done, I'm done.
Well,
I'm tired of it. Um,
you're tired of it after all these
yeah,
years.
after all these years, and
It hurts
a
you.
lot of traveling, a lot of moving, and from how good I seen it before in the past to what I'm seeing now, it's like, you know, it's it's all just changing.
Mike, I can't thank you enough for talking with us here.
I got you.
Oh, please. You got me more than you know. You're right in my heart, bro.
Mhm.
Because I'm going through it with you and I'm older than you and I see.
Good.
We're the last of, I hope not, a dying species, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, I think we might be. But thank you
Yeah.
so much for your insight in this.
Well,
Okay?
you're welcome.